when you first in your 20s, nobody can grind harder than you, and you want to do it all yourself. At least that's for me, and I think a lot of you guys can relate to this. In my 20s, like, I want to outwork everybody. I want to do it all myself. Nobody does it better than me. You're just the owner operator. And then you get in your 30s and you're like, wow, I got so much business, I have to have help. So then you start building a team. And then when you get in your 40s, I'm 44 and I have a massive organization, bunch of partners. You have to get away from owner operator to architect, where you're architecting and it's more leadership skills. It's hard work in the beginning and extreme work ethic, and then extreme work ethic still, but with the leadership skills, to getting away from extreme work ethic to just leadership skills and problem solving and putting out fires. That is the natural progression of a cycle of an entrepreneur. But some guys get stuck in just owner operator. I think you were talking about that you feel like you're stuck in just owner operator. I think maybe you were talking about that too. And you just you gotta learn to let go, right? Let go. And if they can do it 80% as good as you gotta be okay with that. Because you get so aggravated, like, these motherfuckers retarded and yeah, I know. Yeah, like like how stupid are you, you know? Yeah. It's
real. Because
yeah.
like
But you just gotta kind of just slowly back off on a gradient scale and get you a number one that can do it 80%, and you're gonna lose a little bit of revenue because you have to pay somebody pretty good to do that. But you just slowly just keep backing off, keep backing off. But you guys are gonna have to do that eventually, right? And you do that by developing leadership skills, right? And mastering not just your craft, but people. You got to master people. I study human psychology and behavior. All that, my wife knows that. I'm constantly reading books on how people think, how I think, how I can, you know, and I hate to say it, control and manipulate, but in a good way. You understand? With good intentions. Some people control and manipulate in a bad way.
yeah.
You got to have good manipulating skills where everybody wins, right? And not be a piece of shit and take advantage of people. Um, no, but a big takeaway for me was I did not know that John. I didn't know they owned a construction company. I thought they just. You knew that? Did they? It was in-house construction. I just thought they were the developers. They subbed everything out and then they sold it, and then they had the property management company. And the real estate company. I did not realize they had the real estate company too. I mean, they are vertically integrated from start to finish. And that's a lot to say about, all we've been talking about is vertical integration. And I bring him here and I hadn't talked to him about that.
We didn't even tell anybody you were coming because it was like, we didn't know if you would ask him more because it was such a big ask.
Yeah, it was a bit. I don't think you guys understand. He is one of the biggest, if not the biggest player in all of the state of Alabama and in the whole South. Y'all realize that that you're from here. Am I not bullshitting? You know what else is a big takeaway for me, and I think you guys probably could agree, especially you older guys. Who here is in their 40s? Raise your hand. Okay, a good amount, 20% in their 40s. I didn't say 60s, Adam. Adam, I didn't say 60s. Um, is being is is being a cyclical player through the cycles. You heard how many cycles he went through? And how hard it was? They almost went bankrupt twice. And he says he passed by a building that gives him, like, every time he passed by that building, we passed by yesterday. We passed by, and Patty's like, that's the building he's talking about that almost took him down. But there's a lot to be said for playing the game for an extended period of time, longer than everybody else. Most people quit every time a cycle happens. And that's why they never do big things, because if you play this game long enough, you're going to get your feet knocked out from underneath you. But you have to stay in the game. Almost went bankrupt in 2008, 2014. And it was pretty scary when the market pulled back in 2022. We burned through a shit ton of cash in 2022. One of the biggest mistakes I made in real estate was I had so much cash coming in when I was buying all these assets, like, beach houses or the mobile home parks. I didn't raise any CapEx. I had so much cash. And it was good because it gave me a great equity position because I wasn't raising for any CapEx. But when the music stopped in 2022 and the wholesaling, the flipping, and our development stopped selling, I didn't have all that cash, so I had to burn through savings. So that was a huge learning lesson for me, is that even though you got a pile of cash, always use what? OPM. Your cash reserves, no matter how big they get, you shouldn't use them on the value add side. Just borrow all the money. That was a big, now I say that looking up until today, we sold off about 6 to 8 parks, and I was into my parks, 50 to 60 cents on the dollar. So we made a bunch of money. We probably made, we sold how many parks? 6, 7 we sold? Probably made $2.5 million, which ain't a ton of money, but I was able to, reliquify all that money and then roll it into some better assets. We bought, some cabins in Broken Bow, bought more shit in Destin. But you got to play the long game and be willing to get hurt. Your greatest asset as an entrepreneur is not the assets you own. It's your reputation. Because your reputation, if you do the right thing, can recover you when the market deals. You go and burn a bunch of people when the market's down, and you ask for favors, favoritism again. Hey, your private money. They're done. They're done with you. You didn't do the right thing in a bad market. Right? I was selling some of the guys night before last, some of the speakers. I got an asset right now that I'm $1.6 million in the hole to cash that I lost. Right? And we've been losing money for, it's about 10 years. Stroking checks for 10, 12 grand a month. I think I told you that, Hayden and Jake. We just got it under contract last week. 10 years of writing checks. But let's just say I let that go back to the bank, which most people would let that go back to the bank. What happened?
Considered when he's waiting.
We actually considered it.
Is this the time? Is this the
Because I was like, man, this is just getting to where it's so ridiculous. But then I lose my credit. You can't come back from it. So if you can afford it, you pay it. Now, and I could afford it. I didn't want to pay it, but now it's a difference. If you can't feed your children, that's a different story. My children and my family come before a bank and my private money lenders. But there's people out there that are they got the money and they can make it happen, or they don't want to sell off assets to get liquid to make it right. Those guys that they don't need to be in the game.
It says a lot about who you are and who want to partner with you. I don't want to partner with somebody who can quickly just make a decision. The situation when when it gets bad, you want somebody that's gonna walk through the fire with you. One thing else too that I noticed, he said, did y'all notice this? And I was talking to Michael about it. This is his business, right? So he does this day to day. But his regret was that he did not invest it. He talked about last night.
talked about that too, because one of the years so he had was from his uncle.
He said that.
And that he has been holding that since the 80s. And he's so got up.
Well, Ronnie, I don't think you may have picked up. He said he didn't reinvest. So it seems like some of the brothers kept condos where he took cash. I picked up that he took cash, his brothers took condos, and the brothers doubled their money because it kept going up. Because that's why he said I'd have been more disciplined. I'd have stayed, I'd have reinvested and been more disciplined. And that's what I picked up on.
Or it might have been buying 10 pair of shoes or something. He's a good tension now.
Yeah.
In any case, yeah.
The channel purses.
So the cash over the ass.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about that too. How liquid do you stay? It's like it's a juggling act. Do I hold this cash, or do I put an asset and keep getting appreciation?
We do a little bit of both.
Yeah. I like this is my take on that. If I was him, just in reflecting, if you cashing out, just go ahead and buy the asset and pay cash for it, and then pull a line of credit. That way, it's the best of both worlds. You have no debt. I have a lot of lines of credit on properties that I own free and clear. And it's like, why would I go put cash in the bank? I'll just take the cash, we'll pay down the property, have no debt on it. It's 100% cash flow, and then go pull a line of credit, 80% loan to value. That's the best of both worlds. As we save money, that's what we do. We save it in an asset paid off free and clear via a line of credit, not just cash liquidity. Now, there is some risk to that too. The banks could seize up and say, hey, we're not doing any more lines of credit. But we do all small community banks.
What about cash out refis? All my mentors in our circle, they're using cash out refis, kind of locking it down so they don't have to worry about losing the line, anything getting called. That's
I have never. Now, if you were a big bank, hey guys in the back, hey. So on a line of credit, if you use small community banks, they're not going to get called. It's the big banks that got all over leveraged in 2008 and right now. Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, they are so over leveraged. If y'all are banking with all those guys and have lines of credit, I'd move to a small local community bank. They're not over leveraged. They have good fundamentals. And because I had a conversation with my banker about that exact thing. Like, hey, what if you call my loans that I have all these properties free and clear and I need cash? Like, he's like, dude, we're not gonna. He goes, we're so liquid. He goes, even if the economy crashes, we're not gonna. As long as you're in good standing, you have good credit, we're not gonna stop your line of credit.
Concerned us. That's what I seen in '08. I survived through all of it.
Yep.
Working through Katrina played a big part in that. We had a ton of work from Katrina. We moved to some other areas. The mobile homes were huge when everybody was losing everything they had. You can buy a mobile home like buying a vehicle. It's not like buying a house as long as you're not trying to get a mortgage to a bank. Finance companies will finance some. Mobile home sales is through the roof on the lots. We were steady sewer, power, water, skirts. I mean, we were making bank on mobile home when all the good contractors were storming. But all the big players in our area had all these huge lines of credit, developing neighborhoods. They called those loans, so instead of interest only, they were locking them down. So now they were tenfold what they had to pay back versus interest only, and they couldn't afford the notes. When it ran, and that put everybody in our area completely out, and on top of,
For sure. Well, and that's why I tell you guys, you can't just be on just slow money, like just doing development. I would never just do development. They're doing it. They get away with it because they have all cash, but they have fast and medium money. The property management, the medium money is the sales of the condo. Their fast money is the retail side as a realtor and broker. They got layers of fast, medium, and slow money. So, as an operator, you want to have all three layers. And if you know you're unbalanced, you either don't have enough cash because you don't have enough fast or medium money, or you're paying too much in taxes. You don't have enough slow money. The key is to stay balanced on all three of your fast, medium, and slow money to where you're making money, you're buying assets, and you're not paying taxes. Does that make sense? Now, the big takeaway was with Jake, all the land stuff. You guys, you need to be focusing on land because it's the most underrated asset right now that you can still steal. I mean, Jake was saying he's buying some acres for $3,000 an acre. I mean, that's real. We just put, my partner just texted me, I'll show you guys. We put 85 acres under contract in Georgia on a 30-acre lake with 3,500 feet of road frontage for, $4,000 an acre, right? What you can't steal single family homes or any other asset class like that right now. So land and all the different verticals of which you can do, you can wholesale it, you can close on and retail it, you can do a land home package, you can own or finance it, or you can rent it, or you can do the minor resub with the flag he was talking about. That's fast, medium, and slow money in one vertical. What else? Anybody else?
I will tell you, my Lyft driver this morning knows John and Brandon, and she's a Lyft driver. She was a high school teacher or something like that. I beat you beat. Where's Chris? I beat you picked up Chris the other day. Yep, babe. But anyway, nicest guy in the world, she said.
Yeah.
Brandon, everybody said that.
Brandon's awesome. He taught us so much about the area. He taught us what to look at in Airbnb. Really just educated me so much that we crushed it on our first one because he really educated.
What was cool is the Lyft driver is who they were.
Yeah.
First,
Yeah, they're big names around here.
You were talking about local banks, like my local banks. I don't even run their credit check out. You have to just call.
It's relationship based. Chase Bank don't give a shit about Chris Rood or Jake. At my local bank, when I walk in, they know me by first name. I pick up a phone, they talk to me like with respect. Dude, at Chase and the Wells, you're just a number. Nobody gives a shit about you unless you're like you got $1 billion or $400 million in cash. Nobody in here has that, and most people won't get to that level. So play where you can win. Play with the small community banks. Outside of that, I'm trying to think of what else was.
Good takeaway. Something you said was become the expert. Team up with an expert in your area. That's huge.
That's how I get away with everything I do. Everybody tries, how do you do all these deals all over the country? I don't.
It's like this Georgia thing that you're talking about. You obviously have teamed up with somebody who's an expert.
Correct.
Yeah, because he showed me the property. I'm like, I don't know nothing. Like, I just don't gonna see your video. I'm like, he better know what he's fucking.
Well, the guys I partner up with are just experts in the area. They're either born and raised there, or they've been living there 8 to 10 years. Kyle, how long you been in Panama City, Kyle? 12 years. Kyle's a realtor there. I mean, he knows the area. We've done, millions of dollars in revenue in that area, but I don't know the streets. He knows every street. He said, no, we're going to buy this one, but we're not buying that one. Correct. But I can't differentiate and have awareness by doing, you can't just, real estate is not generalized, it's localized. So if you partner up with people in different markets who are born and raised there, or they know the area, and you just bring value to them. I bring value by raising capital, bringing in all the operations and the marketing, and he knows the area, and then you trade value. I keep 50%, he keeps 50%. And that's really the model.
Do you have any tips to how you are locating?
Markets, migration patterns. I just go off the migration patterns. Where are people moving? Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Carolinas. More, not so much Georgia, but those.
How do you contact or quote unquote expert in that area? Where you usually
I talk shit on social media, the brand.
Yeah, but I will warn you, those, if you're calling a realtor, they sign like, you're not supposed to steer people. We're not supposed to say this is a bad area, this is not a bad area. So you have to be like, you have to say, okay, ma'am, take off your realtor hat, let's be friends. Tell me where you would live and where you wouldn't live. Because by law, they're not supposed to steer you around.
Yeah, but I don't listen to realtors. I mean, let's not talk about that. I mean, realtors are.
Anybody to call and then they.
No, for you guys, if y'all want to get into multiple markets, you don't have to build a brand, or just go to mastermind. So I built the brand. I created the masterminds. This Allies Mastermind is a filtration system for me to partner up with the best operators in the markets I want to be in, period. And you can do the same model by just going to masterminds. You're going to meet the best people. We were just talking about it at mastermind you go to. I mean, that's the best operators in the country. And you can go and do deals with all these people, and you can trust them to a certain degree more than you can just trust the general public. You could probably trust people in a mastermind more than you could trust your own family to partner up with.
pretty sad.
It's a sad state of affairs. It really is. And even the past 3 or 4 years too, though, there's been a bunch of shitheads in masterminds. We talk about that quite often, right? That are just faking it till you make it. Bullshit artists. Because you got to be careful with that too. But outside of that, I mean, I think, man, the biggest takeaway for me is just reconfirmed. I just need to hang in there for a long time. If I hang and I don't die financially, and I just hang on for a long enough time, a dip will hurt me. But if I stay long enough, I get carried. I built most of my wealth from 2016 to 2022. Not because I'm really that skilled. Well, I'm skilled, but it was a lot of luck. I hit a cycle. Y'all understand? I hit a cycle. Any guys that's telling you that, I got this so much equity, dude, you got lucky. I got lucky. And I got my net worth just got really massive because I bought it the right time in the right place. But right now, I can't do what I did the past 10 years right now. I just can't. I can't buy all the deals. I have to be very particular. And it hurt. The past couple years hurt. Who here got hurt the past couple years? Raise your hand. Yeah. Yep. Everybody got hurt. If you're a full-time operator, for the most part, you got hurt.
What do you think's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years? If you see these cycles before.
I have seen these cycles before, but what I've never seen is massive government debt that can't be paid back. We're 36 trillion. We're adding 2 to 3 trillion more in debt every year. The only thing I can look at is history. And history tells us they're going to inflate it away through hyperinflation, like the Weimar Republic did in the 20s, like Venezuela did, like Argentina in 2000. They inflate it and they have hyperinflation. Or they default on the debt. America ain't going to default on the debt because why? We have the strongest what? Military. We're going to tell them all, hey, you're going to take our dollars or we're going to handle business. Which, that's good for us as Americans. Or 3, their last resort, history tells us, is they take you to war. If all the countries start fighting, hey, you're doing something, that's bullshit, like how we're printing money and make everybody take our debt is why they started the BRICS. If you understand the BRICS nations. They created their own currency. So I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know.
Why do you think John said the next couple of years look good, but we see some headwinds go out of 2028?
Wait, say that again?
He said the next couple of years look good from real estate perspective, but he sees some headwinds coming in the next 3 years.
He's definitely a whole lot smarter than me, but I'm not as optimistic as him. I mean, I was telling a few people who I was talking to, I mean, even if they drop the rates, insurance ain't coming down. Labor's not coming down. Cost of materials not coming down. So it's not like all of a sudden, boom, they're going to drop the rates a point or two and all is back to the races. I don't believe it because everything is still so expensive and everybody's broke.
Yeah.
Everybody's still broke. It's going to take at least, I think, 3 to 5 years before things heal. And the only way the government can get their ass out of this is to inflate the currency, which that's what they're going to do. That's why asset prices are so expensive. That's why, all these operators beating their chest like, oh, my net worth's high. And I do the same thing, but it ain't because it wasn't natural. It was really a monetary policy that created an inflated asset class across the whole country. And COVID helped us out. COVID helped. If you owned assets during COVID, that house, my Gulf Shores house right here that y'all are parking at, I bought that house a month after COVID or 2 months after COVID, Patty. We paid $650,000. I kid you not. 6 months later, it was worth $1 million. 6 months later.
Well, 950.
950. Okay, 650 to 950.
How much was
it? And we could have sold it for $300,000 more in 6 months. Is that natural? No, that's bullshit. And it's really not healthy for the economy. It's not. And that's why we're feeling it today, because we went up so high and now we're whatever goes up has to come back down. And that's what we're feeling today, the consequences of printing money. Now, will it stabilize? Eventually. Well, everything, whatever gets destroyed has to renew itself again. And we'll have for every boom, there's a bust. For every bust, there's a new boom. So that's just my take on it. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but.
And the best time to buy is during the bust.
Yes.
That is the bottom. That's right. They're talking about the RTC yesterday. That'll never repeat. Man, if I'd have known what I know now, I would have bought everything I could get in my hand.
It's worth 10x more than what back then. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
So right now, I mean, you own an AC HVAC company. I do HVAC work. We're gonna go through a change here in the next 3 to 6 months where they're doing away with the 410A Freon and they go into 454.
Right.
They're literally gonna stop making the system, and they're gonna force you. They're gonna stop selling parts. They're gonna stop selling Freon, and they're gonna force us to sell a $15,000 system because the material is gonna double.
Right. Because of the environment, right? It's
If you don't want it, you ain't getting AC.
Yeah. It's all about the tree huggers. That's
It was the ozone.
the ozone. Yeah.
Things are not even consuming them already. It's the same thing with the R22. So no, it's already stopped. I get the supply houses have stopped. So if you're a repeating customer, you get it kind of. But you're right. For a lot of people, it has stopped. You're already being forced to go to a 454.
Which is going to make the price of AC systems go through the roof, and
They're creating their own market is what it is. Yeah, creating their own sales by doing it. Take a look at that.
Well, it makes us recycle because, I mean, only 10 or 12, 14 years ago, they went from R22 to 410 and 34A. And now they're literally doing it again. So they made us, the people who were stuck in the installation phase and we're just an install crew, yada, yada. They didn't know how to change their mind to sell a unit that now costs 10.
they're doing the same with septic too.
Septic.
They're doing the same shit with septic. So what does it tell you? Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Pennsylvania septics, it's 1 out of every 10 perk that's built. So everything's going to be above ground. You're talking $30,000 to $40,000 for a sprinkler system. And you got chemical spraying, your dog's playing on the mountain, easy stuff. So,
You remember when PVC shot through the roof? That was
So what does this tell you? It tells you get into service rates, and it tells you to buy assets because they're
I like diversity in the service trade. We have the industrial, we have roofing, the HVAC department, and everything kind of has those on the other day. Everything kind of has this run. It's like installing house generators. If we do one, we're going to probably do 4 or 5. Also, we're not going to do nothing. Everything for us has this season. You're right for hurricane season, the general, right? There you are. So diversity, investing in, and all these are my these are long. I have partners in a lot of this, but being tied in with them allows me to have
Right.
something going all the time. That's great.
That's right. And they tried to do the same shit with solar, and that flopped. But let me tell you something why solar didn't work, because it's not a need. It's a want. You understand? It's not a need. It was a want. Oh, it was cool. It was a fad if you had solar. It wasn't necessary. You have to have HVAC. You have to have a roof. You have to have plumbing stuff. You have to have electricity. Get into what's needed, not wanted right now. Even though it's nasty and dirty, junk removal, HVAC. I'm trying to get into septic tank business because we want to vertically integrate that. All that shit you have to have. So anyway, that was some of the bigger takeaways. But man, that's the biggest takeaway. I think we could just hang on, and we can hang on for long enough. You're gonna get rich. You're gonna get wealthy if you just don't blow yourself up. And I think not being over leveraged. That was a big key thing. They never got over leveraged. They paid every time they had a big chunk of money. They just bought a new piece of beach. They bought a big chunk of the beach, and it was all cash. And you could tell they probably lived a very modest lifestyle for a long time. To better get to a point where you're all cash on all these big giant. But
Man, that brother, I would say y'all just
yeah, I mean that's a lot of. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in liquidity.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hey, y'all see the new one they got going? Did y'all browse that letter one? They've got every unit in there except for one.
Because they're selling at wholesale prices. They selling to investors.
So you know what? Brandon always has been sending me that, but he never put it that way, that it was wholesale price.
You're like, wait,
And I was like, shit, I've been missing out on wholesale deals because they don't market it that way. They say you get I think it's like a 10% discount, but I don't know. There's something that he switched in my brain when he's like, I basically am wholesaling these units. But shit, cold time, like had I been looking at it in that perspective.
yeah. It probably can't market it that way just in the event that it doesn't rise.
Yeah.
It goes, but they know that
And look, you bring a guy like that over here, and it's like, man, that's so like I could never do that. But look, most of us in this room will probably never get to that point. He hit a cycle too, and he had the family that helped him kind of build, and they started 40 years ago of doing it. But in the family, and the dad started, so they had a leg up. But what that does when you get around that's true inspiration, and that's true thinking big. And I can tell you the biggest problem, and I've been coaching for almost 10 years now, is people just don't think big enough. They think so small and so just in a box that they limit their expansion. Where I just think about how can I go bigger? And that's how I created Allies. And how can I do more deals all over the country? You just figure it out as you go. But you got to put the thought out there first to manifest the action, right? Put it out there first. How can I, and have goals, right? But also don't go beyond the edge of your competence level. That's a big thing. I've seen it with too many operators I know a couple guys that are huge that are probably going to go bankrupt. There's no way they're not, because they got greedy and they went beyond the edge of their competency. Ego, man, ego. And there's nothing wrong with having a big ego. You want to think highly of yourself, but you can't do everything. And you can't do anything. I don't care anybody, I can do anything. No, you can't. The market pulled back and you can do anything? No, you can't. Stay at the edge of your competency and don't go beyond that. And if you want to go beyond that, you need to bring in another person who has that competency to leverage. And that's what Allies is about. I leverage. Allies is like using debt to me. I'll find a good operator, an expert in the area, and I'm leveraging their expertise. Don't go beyond that, right?